Advocate is focused on delivering maximum value for our clients. When we're working on a project, we endeavor to understand exactly what it is that would best serve the client and a particular project, and we design a suite of services that are intended to optimize that value proposition. We work to ensure that the cost of our services are a small fraction of the savings that we bring to a client's project, both in terms of cost and also in terms of delivering exactly what the client wants. And so that when a client looks at our involvement, they recognize that the investment that they made with us was worth many multiples in terms of value to them.
From an owner's perspective, the challenges that I see that are typically out there are the unknowns. It's typical that a client of ours is building their first home. This is their first time building. There's a lot of assumptions that are being made. There's by far a tremendous amount of unknown. And what I mean by that is they are presented with process that they feel they cannot change or alter, and therefore they almost feel they can't ask questions, or they feel they shouldn't ask the questions. So the challenges that I see out there are primarily that. Where we come in, we're able to educate and open up dialogue for clients to feel comfortable in asking the questions in order to get to the expectation.
One of the biggest challenges I think we experience in today's climate is keeping up with all of the communication and making sure that the pace of the project is integrated between all the team members. And one of the most amazing experiences that I've had with Advocate's team is their consistent communication and the updates that they give on the projects to the entire team. It means there's one additional person pushing pace for everyone, not just for their own internal team, and I think that's really been invaluable.
Advocate took a leadership role in developing our dream team in the fact that I think they helped us understand very early on that even though every professional provides services, that it's really about selecting the right people to provide those services. And they were instrumental, of course, of introducing us to a multitude of different professionals that had great reputations, that they knew could perform the services, but really making sure that during that interview process, we felt a connection and we felt that we were finding the right people that would understand the vision, that would listen to our desires and our, our concerns, and really connected on us so that we could work together. That, we were going to be working together for many years on this project. So I feel like, Advocate was instrumental in education and introductions to different professionals, again, in the various different phases of this project. And when you know that it's important who you do business with, the fact that Advocate was able to have a Rolodex of professionals that were diverse in their own skill set, but ultimately put those meetings together, and we're sitting there able to, again, make sure that we were comfortable and that we were ultimately the ones making the final decision on who were going to be best for our family throughout this project. One of the ways that Advocate's industry knowledge really helped us throughout the project was really understanding construction costs, material costs, and understanding that, from a value proposition, really understand the quality that you're looking for, not just the what you're paying for it, right? So their ability to really be experts as it relates to material costs, construction costs, and having different resources for those things really helped drive a lot of value, financial value, into our project multiple times over.
So Advocate helped us be really prepared. They came down to the numbers. I'm very concerned about budget. I'm very concerned about money. I want to make sure where our money's going, what it's being spent on, and that we're not going to go over budget. And the wonderful thing about Advocate was all the numbers right there in your face, so you can break it down and you know where the money's going and what it's going towards. And one of the crazy things is that there are costs that you don't even realize are costs when you have this idea of renovating a house, especially one built in the 80s. You have no idea of the things that go into it, from not only framing the windows, but the tile that needs to go down, and maybe the floor is not level. There's just so many different things that they think about and that they help guide you towards and guide you through so that you really have the best experience because they're so knowledgeable.
My experience working with the advocate, again, we've worked at a lot of different levels in different scenarios. There's a giftedness in assembling a team, understanding your client's chemistry and how they can relate to other, be it building professionals, design professionals, and having the insight, number one, to understand who the design community would align with best with your client, maybe the site, but that insight and being able to read that, and then also having spent the time to create your resources, I think is really important with what the advocate's doing for folks. But ultimately, it's a game of stewardship and caring for the client and getting to know them, knowing what's best for them, and then having the folks on your team that can read the proper cues and also communicate with a multitude of different folks. You got to communicate with architects, builders, engineers, interior designers. It's complicated, it's overwhelming, and I think it's interesting for those that may or may not have been involved with the build process prior to have that sounding board and have an advocate. The advocate helps deliver a client's vision through initial study with them, and then just simply by placing them in front of the correct humans. If I weren't an architect and I wanted to design a house, the thought of finding an architect alone is pretty overwhelming. The quickest route to that is you talk to people and you talk to others. You find people that you trust that make good decisions, or maybe have a similar sense of style, and that's how people can route through that. But with the advocate, a lot of that can get taken care of in advance because the advocate has relationships with most every architect in town that is suitable for a quality of work that you represent, and pairing the proper pairings. I think doing that in advance and you bring the right people to the table, it really reduces the amount of effort that takes, and I think it helps bring clarity to the owner's decisions, and I think shortens that process.
I've worked with many owners' reps before, and they all operate in a different way. And what I found very refreshing in working with Advocate was it was very professional, it was very team-oriented, very collaborative, and I just felt, I think it brought a feeling of safety to everybody. I think it pulled all the different components, interior designer, architect, builder, client, all these components that a lot of times kind of start working on their own agenda. I think Advocate really helped keep everyone on one agenda. And that's where I felt the big value was, not only for us in making our operation efficient, but I'm sure it really helped the client sort out all the actors that are on the stage and keep the play moving forward. So Advocate was very involved and very imperative in simplifying the process and supporting the team in so many ways. And I think underlying all of us, our bottom line is we all want a happy client. Advocate wants a happy client, Candelaria Design wants a happy client, the builder, the designer. That's our ultimate goal as a team. And so, again, I think what was great about working with Advocate is that goal was always there and always communicate to everybody. So when there was an issue with, let's just say, with what we were doing, you'd come to us and we'd work out a solution on how can we move this forward in a positive way that helps the client. Or if we're having an issue with the interior designer and the finishes and this isn't going to work with that, you help pull that together. And again, a lot of times we're left in this void of trying to do that ourselves, or the client is the referee trying to solve some of these issues. And I think it's just great to get that perspective of someone that's not so emotionally attached. A client is emotionally attached. not only because of their wallet, but the aesthetics of the project. Sometimes it's great to get that person that's not the architect, not the designer, not the client, that can stand outside of that bubble and look at what's really going on and say, I know this is what they want, this is what it's going to cost, how do we get them there? And I think that's what I've really enjoyed about working with the Advocate, is you've got that additional role player that's standing outside that bubble that can assess things non-emotionally.
I would say one of my biggest concerns with building any house is there are certain obstacles that marriages go through, and home building is one of the biggest. And so Advocate was able to dampen that worry for us and be able to lessen the stress that we had to embark as a couple, because there were certain advantages that Advocate had with experience of knowing the city, of knowing different resources, of having all of these beautiful things at their disposal that we didn't know as first home builders. And so we were able to tap into Advocate and use them as the best resource, but they were also really becoming part of our family and making sure that they had the best interest of our best interest at their heart.
Part of Advocate's value proposition is being an effective single point of contact for the entire team and for the clients, the owners. We serve as a conduit to ensure that there is a high level of communication, quality communication, that assist with timely decisions, informed decisions, and working to ensure that the team is always rowing their boat in the same direction. Clients who are building a luxury home don't have access to the information of what it really costs to build a luxury home in the markets that we serve. Advocate has worked very hard at assembling that information on the projects that we work on, and also on projects that we've been shared information on the costs, in order to build financial models that are consistent with real market pricing at present. This is a huge advantage to a client that they don't otherwise have in ensuring that what they're being presented with is consistent with the market cost. And this is particularly important in an environment of significant cost increases, heavy demand on these construction projects, to ensure that a client is fully informed as to what the real market conditions are.
One of the first things I noticed working with the Advocate team was the ability for them to help put the entire team together when it came to designers, builders. I was able to get a better understanding of what their process was and how they helped the client, as well as worked with all the different individual team members. A lot of times the hardest thing for a client to do if they've never done a new build or a remodel is understand the entire process. Advocate was incredible when it came to working with the client and helping them understand all the different team members and what their process was as well. One of the things in architecture design we can do is design all the way to the sky. And Advocate was very good at helping rein everybody in to get on budget, on time, stay within any kind of engineering that needed to happen, architecture design, interior design, material selection, make sure we do hit the numbers that we need to hit when it comes to creating the project that the client wants, as well as the vision of the designers in the project.
Advocate is unique in their way of following up, not making people or clients feel too much pressure, but letting them know that decisions or critical decisions at certain points in the construction process have to be made, and sometimes homeowners need a little help understanding in what time frame they need to make those decisions, and they need some help in understanding or getting advice on how the decision should be made to most effectively benefit the project. I would say from start to finish, the level of comfort that Advocate provides to the client is very significant in making this entire process much more streamlined and efficient, from the fact that they know they're only interviewing a select group of individuals that can accomplish their goals, to making sure everything is accounted for throughout the process.
When we started working with Advocate, they really listened to what our concerns were, what our considerations were, what was important to us specifically, and not what their opinion would be on it necessarily, or our builder's opinion would be. And we felt very heard, and things from the budget to design to time to communication, everything has really helped make the process go so much more smooth than I could have imagined when I started.
On a project that isn't going in the best direction, having advocate come in and help the client's vision be seen through to the end of the project was key.
In evaluating our project proposal, we got back with working with Advocate. We did a competitive bidding process because the goal is to understand what are the market dynamics, what are the costs, because typically you seek out the service of a particular vendor and they say, this is the price. Now, if you go to the grocery store, what's the price of milk? Well, we know what the price of milk should be, but if you say, well, what's the price of doing the electrical work for your house? They just give you a number and I have no idea what that means. And so we trust that they're giving us an honest answer, but the reality is there's a wide variation in how these projects can be can be billed out or can be estimated. And that can be due to a number of factors, from the type of product that's being done, the quality of the work, the amount of overhead that you're being charged. We have no line of sight into any of that. And so working with Advocate, they give us the assurance and the reassurance that the pricing that we're getting is fair pricing, because they are involved in so many different projects across multiple different areas. They understand market dynamics and then can provide us assurance that yes, this is within an expected range of what is a fair market price.
Oftentimes we do competitive bidding against other general contractors. The great thing when Advocate is involved in the pre-construction is they ensure that we're all bidding apples to apples, that the details are bid properly, everyone's bidding the same materials, the same finishes, and it really puts us in a competitive advantage against other general contractors. That's a great thing that Advocate brings to the table and really helps the client so they know what they're getting when proposals are presented to them. I think it's very beneficial and important to have Advocate on the team. They really pull together the builder, the architect, the owner, interior designers, all to a cohesive team to make these very complicated high-end projects come to life.
In order to achieve an optimal outcome, there needs to be a high level of alignment between the owner's vision and objectives and that of the design team made up of the architect and interior designers. And what we do is work hard to balance those objectives to ensure that the client understands the value proposition of different alternatives, taking into account their desired design in combination with budget. And so when we're working with a client, we're working consistently and on an ongoing basis to ensure alignment as the design is being completed.
After learning the hard way and trying to do a remodel without Advocate a few years back, I can say wholeheartedly that I definitely would endorse hiring Advocate for a new home build or a major remodel to be able to take away the stress and headache and frustration that's inevitable in this process, and to actually bring some joy and humor into it and inspire you and make you forever grateful that the end result is just what you wanted and that the process along the way was wonderful.
I would absolutely recommend Advocate to anyone that is building a luxury residence. It could be a seasoned client that has built many homes, and there is still a tremendous value in the assistance that they give in every aspect of the process.
In my view, one of the most important things for a client to understand is that building a home or remodeling a home at this level is very complex. And you have to make a decision on whether you want to be reactive to issues along the way or proactive in issues along the way. I highly recommend the services of Advocate because they are experts at the proactive nature or proactive path of a very complex project.
So as a real estate broker, as a mom, as a busy professional taking care of everything, I would absolutely recommend Advocate to absolutely anyone that needed to that needed a renovation, that needed a build in the luxury market. You can't go wrong.
I think it's really great to have someone like the Advocate team on board, especially when you're building a new house, and just let them kind of quarterback the whole process for the client. Especially on a high-end luxury home, a lot of the homes we're doing are so complicated. They're not just on flat sites. There's ravines, there's cliffs, there's design reviews, there's hillside review. It's a long, hard process. And a lot of times when I'll say something, I say, well, we got to do hillside review. It's this, this, this. Clients look at me, what? You know? But then I've got the Advocate team there who goes, no, he's right. We've been through it. It's exactly what happened. So it's just great to have that added support as an architect. I know it's helping the client, but it's also helping us tremendously. So I really encourage architects to reach out to Advocate.
One of the biggest decisions a family can make is designing and building a luxury home. Advocate has been extremely important for me to recommend to a lot of my clients because they are very essential in the pieces of design, team members, and getting the project done to where the client wants it to be.
I would recommend Advocate in this process just because I've heard and known about so many individuals that have gotten into this massive investment without the right team or the right players, and it has caused significant emotional and financial stress by not having the right people in play.
Building a luxury home is a very personal process, and these are our homes that we live in, that we're in the most private moments of our life, and there's a lot that goes into that, and having the right team for that is crucial. I'm a strong believer in building a team that is going to see your vision and make sure that things are staying on track and that you as the homeowner is taken care of. And bringing Advocate in on the beginning of a project, they'll help you pull together each part, each piece, each team, each budgets is extremely helpful, and I would recommend it to any client.
I would recommend Advocate to anybody who's building a luxury home. I don't know that there's anybody else, I'm not aware of anybody else out there that has the amount of kind of industry knowledge and current knowledge of what's going on in the market. And I don't think there's anybody better than Advocate out there.
Would I recommend Advocate? Well, I have recommended Advocate to all my friends who are doing these sorts of projects. And when they ask me why I should consider hiring Advocate, I ask them, imagine the costs that you will have of not hiring them. Imagine the costs of dealing with these unknowns. Imagine the costs for taking away from your life, from your work, the stress. That is the reason to hire Advocate, in my opinion.
The reason I started this company and the reason I'm so passionate about the work that it does is I recognize the value proposition to a client, not only in terms of dollars, but in terms of risk, in terms of emotional energy, in terms of fear. And I get great pleasure, as does our entire team, of helping to mitigate those risks, mitigate those fears, and take a project that otherwise feels daunting and or impossible or very difficult or stressful, and work to turn it into a project where everyone feels great about the work that we're doing and that we're all working in alignment to deliver for a client. And I get great personal satisfaction from our work as a group in helping to solve for those challenges. And I certainly feel great about the day we move in and we've all accomplished a really challenging set of objectives that has put the client into their dream home. We have capability of doing work really anywhere on the globe by utilizing not only our team, but local talent who are identified to support certain functions in those other areas. And we would welcome the opportunity to discuss how Advocate and its team might fit into a project that you have anywhere. If you're interested in Advocate services or would like to learn more about what our clients and other service providers have to say about our involvement, please visit our website at www.advocate-rca.com and either give us a call or shoot us an email. We'd certainly love to connect with you.